Welcome back to SpeterTV. Subscribe if you're new, hit the notification bell to let your Speter sense tingle when I upload. I know I've had a lot of Spider-Man content up lately because of, Marvel month and, Endgame came out and Far From Home is next and Spider-Verse was still pretty recent. And, there's also the PS4 game. But, hey, Spider-Man's pretty relevant right now in the zeitgeist. And, hey, look at half my face, so yes, another Spider-Man video. So the most recent Far From Home trailer revealed that the MCU is about to get into the multiverse. And for the record, I do believe them when they say that there is a multiverse here. Whether or not Mysterio's really from it or not, I kinda doubt that. And even if he is, that's a different topic. But the point here, we got Spider-Man, we got multiverse, and we're only like half a year removed from Spider-Verse. So when you put all these elements together in one trailer, using Spider-Man to fully introduce the multiverse this recently after Spider-Verse, I can see why a lot of people are thinking about the MCU doing their own Spider-Verse soon. Now, Sony and rights and contracts and things like that aside, because I don't really pay too much attention to that side of the game, should the MCU think about doing the Spider-Verse now? I've seen a lot of people excited for the idea, but I really don't get it. Now, Into the Spider-Verse was popular and really well received and came out really recently. It's in the conversation for the best Spider-Man movie we've had. The idea of seeing it in live action is cool. I get that part of it. We're in an age where it seems like anything is finally actually possible in movies. When else would you have actually gotten Mysterio with his fishbowl? So I get the excitement there. People want to see Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield come back somehow, and there are really just endless possibilities. But the fact that you could probably pull off a live-action Spider-Verse doesn't mean that it's even close to the right time to do it now in the MCU. Especially if you're focusing on the current Tom Holland Spider-Man. As it stands right now, he's still sort of a Spider-Man in training. Now, Far From Home is supposed to have him doing a lot of growing up and learning lessons that will affect him for the rest of his life. But, well, for one, we haven't seen that yet, so I can't really talk about it. And two, if he does become that full-fledged, fully realized Spider-Man that every single fan on the face of the earth will finally fully love, it's just too soon. He just won't have been that stabilized, fully confident, fully realized Spider-Man for long enough for you to introduce him to really other versions of himself. He's not fully himself yet. So if you're going to take him and let's say we put him in the role that Miles had in Spider-Verse, just because he's not 100% fully actualized yet, or at the very least he will have just gotten there. In that case, it's safe to assume that a lot of the other Spider-Men and women and pigs will be taking on some sort of a mentoring role. This Spider-Man does not need any more mentors than he already has. He already has more all-around help than most versions of the character have ever had. Him being the younger Spider-Man in a Spider-Verse group would just sort of make it overkill at that point. They're inevitably going to teach him how to be better at what he does. He has that, he's had that, it's time for him to learn a little more on his own, right? I would think so. Or then say, Miles is the main character of this again, like in Spider-Verse, and let's say Tom Holland plays an older version of his own character, or even this version. Well, we just got that in Into the Spider-Verse. We have that. It was done really well and they're continuing it. Just taking the same thing and doing it in live action doesn't mean you're going to actually add anything to it. In fact, you might be taking away some things because, well, animation is a lot less limiting than even CGI-filled live action. And animation deserves its chance to shine more anyway. Then, for some reason, let's say you have Peter and Miles both in the same movie around the same age. That would be kind of cool. But then it might be sort of overkill with just probably too many teenage Spider-Man going around, or just Spider-Verse with two teenage Spider-Man. In my head, this idea just doesn't work to me right now. Down the road, sure, but I just don't see it right now. Or really anytime particularly soon. And I know a lot of people want to see Miles Morales in live action, but the Spider-Verse is not the only way to get him. He was already referenced in Homecoming, with Dondish Glove Bino saying he has a nephew who lives there. Miles already exists in this universe. If you want to use him, you can just wait for him to grow up. I think we've seen that a decade of Marvel movies can kinda go by fast. But hey, that's my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments. And thank you so much for watching. Like this video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it. Again, subscribe if you're new, hit the notification bell to let your Speter sense tingle when I upload. Check out my Patreon and my Teespring in the description. And follow me on the Twitchstagrams. Alright, I should see you next week.